Well guys, I honestly never thought I'd see the day that we all would be saying goodbye to NCAA Football 2014 in regards to a new college football game releasing. Seriously, after about 5 years or so, this NCAA 14 game just kind of became accepted by everyone, including me, as the only college game that we were ever going to play ever again. A new college game just never seemed like it was going to happen. But fortunately, hell has frozen over in the sports gaming world, and a new college football game is not only coming, but it's arriving next week. Real quick, before we move too far forward, I want to let everyone know that sadly my NCAA 14 game ironically reached its end as far as playing a game goes. Crazy that it lasted all this time and decided to crap out on me when I'm trying to get footage for this video. Right before the new one comes out, it just seemed like really interesting timing. Was gonna get another copy, but 150 bucks is a pass for me, with this being probably the last week I touch it for a good while, if ever again. It was only for starting up games for some reason, so some of the footage in this video as far as gameplay goes sadly will not be from 14, it will be from 13, but anything as far as menus go, like going through Dynasty mode or Road to Glory, is still 14 footage. Again, I apologize, but seriously, it seemed like a sign from the football heavens that it did its time for 11 years, and now my disc has sadly and tragically passed away in favor of the new one. Also, before we begin, I always have to take a second to thank all of you for subscribing, because it means the world to me having you here enjoying the content. We're just shy of 600 subscribers about halfway through the year, and my goal by the end of the year for 2024 was to be at 1,000 subscribers. But who's to say we can't make that happen way before December, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Back to business though, NCAA 14 really is a meaningful thing to move on from. I mean, it's very impactful. It's impacted all of our lives. It's been there for a long time. If you're a fan of college sports games, you've probably played this game as much as I have every single year since its release 11 years ago. It falls into this unique category of sports games that are the last of an era, if you will. Like MVP 2005 baseball, ESPN 2K5 NFL games, even the EA NCAA basketball 10 game, and another classic favorite of mine, College Hoops 2K8. It has me wonder, though, if these types of sports games are actually as good as we think they are, or do we give them this god-tier appraisal because they are the last one of their kind and we get nostalgic playing them? Well, today we're going to find that out. We are going to be revisiting NCAA 14 and a little bit of 13 as well to see if they deserve the praise everyone gives them or if they are severely overrated. Also, I must warn anyone new to this channel, I am a brutally honest person, and the more time that has passed, the more critical I've gotten of these games for reasons. Overall, don't worry too much. I love them still as a whole, but there are a couple things throughout this video that I'm not too fond of, and that I'm ready to bury in the past for good. Thank you anyone watching this. You are highly appreciated for being here. If you could drop a like on the video and make sure you come join the Snake Pit by hitting that subscribe button, much appreciated. Now back to the video. Let's talk about the gameplay first. Like I said, sorry, I don't really have any of my own footage for NCAA 14 because my disc crapped out, but it's all good. I spent over a decade with the game, so I don't need to play it again to know what's up. Right off the bat, when you load up a game, you get an actual TV broadcast presentation. You're shown all the college traditions for every single team in the game. Like here, the OHIO formed on the field before the Ohio State football team runs out, or animals like the classic gator head that's not alive for Florida, or the actual alive bulldog for Georgia, for instance. It's all here for every program. You have cheerleaders and mascots all showing their school pride as well. During the game itself, you'll hear a ton of chants that go along with the schools you're playing against or playing as. There's just so much to take in every single game you play, and simply put, the atmosphere elements of college football are just executed almost perfect. And while experiencing that atmosphere, it goes alongside the incredible actual ESPN presentation the game gives you as well. As a big immersion type of guy, the ESPN thing goes a long way into why I still enjoy NCAA 14, 13 to this day, even 12 you could say, but 13 and 14 to me have the better presentation. It's not quite college game day level, but the whole lead up to kickoff here is just fantastic. Kirk Herbstreit gives you some insight on the two programs going at it for the day. And then he is joined by Brad Nessler, forming a perfect broadcast team to immerse you into a college football type of element. Despite hearing the same lines over and over again, though, they just sound so legit that over a decade later, it still doesn't bother me at all, and it blows my mind. And also during games, specifically in Dynasty mode, you'll be giving score updates for big games around the country or conference games, whatever matters to your current state in the franchise. It will give you updates for the scores and things, which is awesome. It's overall one of my favorite features in any sports game ever. You want to know how that big conference rivalry game is going? Well, they'll clue you in on that from time to time throughout the game. Just helps you feel like you're in the world you're playing in. And that's all brought to you by this amazing ESPN package. Like I said, you get studio updates. It feels like you got some SportsCenter elements in here in the middle of your football game. Hell, they even give you a very legit looking bottom line with all the scores to go along with the SportsCenter kind of feel. Visually speaking, though, obviously the game outside of presentation is a bit dated, but there are still times where it holds up to this day. I mean, you look at the field itself, for instance, the 3D grass and the textures look amazing still. They're on point and look legit. The crowd, on the other hand, looks terrible, if you ask me. They look like generic PS1 pixels, sometimes from a distance, that kind of just chill there and make noise. But hey, at least they actually make noise. The crowd noise doesn't seem like it's gonna be as epic as the new college game coming out this week. But there's still plenty of noise to go around here during your games, and for me, that's a big bonus. Nothing worse than playing a sports game where the crowds are just silent during big moments, like almost every single current sports title, sadly. Enough about the atmosphere, though. What about the actual action on the football field? Well, for starters, diving into playbooks, there is a ton of fun plays hidden in every single team's playbooks. They have team-specific styles and all that stuff. It works well here. Personally, I still think these playbooks are more diverse and fun than Madden's current ones, and they supposedly add so much all the time, but it doesn't feel like it. You'll have like triple option plays in this game, for instance, many different versions of the triple option as well, not just one. So you never know whenever you're playing against some crazy option team where the ball is actually going to end up going. You have flea flickers, end arounds, just everything is here at your disposal, and it makes the gameplay so much better. Take notes, Madden. The overall flow of the game feels solid. This is the year where EA kind of shifted back to the free-feeling gameplay for a few years. You don't always feel like you're being sucked into an animation, which for me is also a big bonus. You feel like you can actually control your ball carrier directions at all times. The Infinity game engine was just so much better suited for football than Frostbite. It's physics-based kind of gameplay instead of just constant animations from Frostbite. That's why Madden 25, not to like mention Madden in this video because this is about college football, but no, I'm not talking about the stupid Madden 25, the new one coming out. I'm talking about the one, aka also known as Madden 14. It's just one of my favorite gameplays ever in Madden. Only real complaint when it comes to gameplay is that stupid linebacker thing this era of football games for EA kind of went through. They were plagued with for a few years. When you want to throw the ball over their head, you find them leaping in the sky like prime Michael Jordan to intercept it constantly. It's not a rare thing. It's pretty common, and it's sad. It's the only real negative I have. It does ruin the experience from time to time. If there's certain days that it gets like out of hand or too common, I will not want to touch this game for the day. But another thing these college games do well, though, is showing the difference between like teams' abilities. If you're playing a scrub school as like Michigan, Alabama, LSU, one of those big programs playing against some small school, you're probably going to have a boring blowout on your hands, but the game also gives them a very slight chance of upsetting you every once in a while, which to me is realistic. And on the other hand, when you have a stacked like LSU versus Alabama game, you're most likely going to be around till the fourth quarter to find out who the winner's going to end up being. Even if a good school per se has a bad roster for the year, they aren't going to put up a good fight against number one in the country. Even if the down team is like Alabama or Georgia, if they have a bad roster for the year, they're going to play bad, and I like that. Players on your roster matter, and so do matchups as far as the playbooks go, and that's the way football is meant to be. But talking about teams having up and down years, I think it's time to transition over to the mode where it all happens. My favorite mode, Dynasty. When you open Dynasty mode, it doesn't take too long for it to become apparent you're about to enjoy one of the best sports modes ever seen in any sports game ever. You begin with options of creating your coach or using an existing one, options already, choose your playbook, choose your play style to shape your coach the way you want it to be, and before you even officially begin, you are met with even more customization options like the BCS tie-ins for the conferences and even customizing the conferences in general to be whatever you want them to be. Like if you want to make the current conferences, go for it the best you can. Once you're set up the way you want to be, you move to the team selection screen and you get the option to pick whatever team you want. And whether you want to be a head coach or even a coordinator, which is a massive feature that I love also. But wait, there's even more juicy stuff before you start the season. You're introduced to the also amazing coaching tree, which allows you to not only upgrade your coach with skills, but your coordinators as well if you are a head coach. And what makes this all work so well is that amazing coaching carousel at the end of each season, but we will touch on that a little bit more in a bit. You then arrive to the Dynasty menu and even more stuff awaits you. Live your life as a coach, go through redshirt players, then figure out your positions that you need soon before you go over to set up your recruiting board. After you do those couple things, you create your schedule with the inclusion of neutral games in 14. I believe that is the only time in the series that existed. So it is a big deal because that is used commonly for bigger games early in the season in real life. When you have your schedule made to begin the season, you get ready and you get met with more once again. And right away, let's get the most important thing out of the way and probably the most controversial opinion I'll have in the video. That opinion is truthfully, I think recruiting kind of sucks in NCAA 14. I mean, maybe sucks isn't the right word, maybe more like underwhelming. And before you blow a gasket, like I said, it's not terrible. Let me explain myself. After all the years of playing this and 13, I just think this is a big letdown compared to NCAA 13's deep recruiting system. Over in 13, you can actually talk to each player, pitching them your school grades from what your school is good at and what it is bad at, which you don't want to pitch. But you compare them directly to the other teams that you're competing with. It makes it very challenging and realistic if you're not up to the task. If you're a smaller school in Florida, for example, you might really struggle pitching your prestige against a school like Michigan State or Michigan, Ohio State. If that player wants to live down south, though, you have a big advantage over those bigger schools, even if you're small. You can also sway their opinions sometimes to make your topic of discussion more important to them or promise them things that can cause them to transfer if you lie to them. But in 14, that's all sacrifice for the simplistic point system made for casuals, if you have my opinion. And I'm in the camp that you make a product for your hardcore audience, not people that casually play and don't take the game seriously. This recruiting system is just a big backtrack and it's disappointing. Like I said, I think it would have been criticized if the game carried on to be made in further years. It still does its job though. I don't think it's terrible, but I found myself just not caring about the guys I recruited nearly as much. Like for example, in 13, if you're in a tight race against a big rival and they're just loving the campus lifestyle that you got going, and that allows you to barely win that recruit over a bigger rival, you feel satisfied. But in 14, you do the same type of thing, but instead, you just put points on them week 1 and never look at them again until you happen to edge that school out. It's nowhere near as fulfilling, just trust me. You still have all the other features though, like pipeline states, top 100 recruits, and team need tabs. That's a hard thing to say. Try to say that 10 times fast, people. And they even give you the My School tab with your grades, but that's basically meaningless compared to what I said about 13. It's just kind of there to taunt you, it feels like. But that's really it for my negative as far as Dynasty goes. I mean, the recruiting is a big negative, don't get me wrong, but it's not game-breaking. Like I said, it's still solid enough. It's just nowhere near as in-depth. After that, you have the ESPN tab full of goodies. Want to see the top stories around the league? Go for it. You want to check on the rankings? Sure thing. Check it out. Or even play a game from any team you want in the schedule menu, because it's your Dynasty, and who cares if you want to do that? They give you that option. Other things like the Heisman Watcher here, along with the toughest places to play that actually change as time goes on. Plus my personal favorite tab, the Championship Outlook tab, that shows every school's ranking for the next 4 years based on your upcoming rosters. I just think it's really neat. But then you scroll over to the team management for anything that you need, like depth charts, edit players, edit playbooks to your liking, and you can even practice whenever you feel like it. And of course, the coaching carousel at the end of the season that I briefly mentioned earlier, which is the main feature of Dynasty mode. You want to be a coordinator at a small school at the beginning and grind your way to a head coaching job, then do it. And you will go through this coaching carousel, and that is how you find your next position. Or even if you're an established program and you have a few down years, expect to be fired and searching for a new job on the carousel. Or you're doing an amazing job at your school and you have two god-tier coordinators at your side, but they both leave to go get head coaching jobs like they would do in real life. So that challenge starts all over again of building up your coordinators because you have new fresh ones from the carousel as well, from other schools literally that you might have played against in the season. Dynasty mode is just never-ending fun that seriously goes on forever, and 11 years later, I've yet to get burned out with it, and it blows my mind to this day.
Does anybody care?
Alright, let me catch my breath, guys, after that long Ultimate Team discussion here, but let's jump into Road to Glory. So let's start with, there's multiple positions there, including defensive positions. Can you actually believe that? Madden only recently let you do a few offensive positions, but here you can do defense as well. Every single position, I believe, on defense. And pretty much everything but tight end and offensive lineman on offense, which is a great option. No special teams here, though, which is kind of disappointing. You then create yourself with the option of putting your face in the game, so even they had that back then. I know you can't do it anymore, sadly, but at one point in time, NCAA 14 made that a big part of the creation suite, and it's appreciated here. After messing with some of your player details, you get to see another thing that I've adored about Road to the Glory over the years. Not only do you get to pick your high school location and the name, but then you legit create uniforms and pick a stadium to pair with it. NCAA games put literally more effort into high school creation than Madden has put into their entire game for 12 plus years. Then afterwards, you pick your 3 desired schools you'd like to receive a scholarship from in the future after high school is over and your difficulty level. Then you head into the mode. But wait, there's even more customization once again for flipping high school. Not only do you get to create your own schools, but you make your own schedule of opponents and you get to design your opponents' uniforms as well. And don't forget, all of this back in the day, you could have used the amazing team builder thing as well to make all of these teams, which is insane to me that they even had team builders, so you could create like really legit stuff. But even without it, there's still plenty of options here for making it very realistic. I was able to make all of my high school rivals from high school in real life and play against them here, again, like I've done several times. As we jump into playing this mode, though, I'm going to be real with you. I always play these career type of modes, and they aren't usually my favorite in the game. Something about not controlling every player just kind of bores me throughout time, and it gets irritating watching my AI teammates be idiots. When you go into an actual game, you could choose to sim or even watch when you aren't on the field. When you are, though, you get one play from your coach, and that is all you get to run for the first while of this. And that's another reason these modes just aren't for me. Play calling for football specifically is something that I love doing, and it is actually a strength of mine as far as football games go. But I get it, you aren't the coach, so I'm not knocking the mode for that. It's just not my cup of tea. I will knock it for the dumb AI teammates, though, that I mentioned. When I'm throwing 3 interceptions a game because half of them are just being my teammates just making 0 effort for the ball.
What the fuck was that?
Or the dumb linebacker thing. It just becomes very irritating as you play through it more than a couple games. It adds up. As you play through high school, you get interest updates from schools after each game. You can check on your statuses on the menu to see how you are trending with each individual school. I always end up simming a few games because otherwise you will automatically get your #1 school every single time. Unless you play like absolute garbage, and I'm talking like absolute dumpster fire garbage is the only way you're not going to get whatever school you want. So I usually sim a few just to make it a little more challenging. Even this playthrough is a perfect example. I actually struggled for a good bit of the season and simmed 3 games and still made it through undefeated. We got to the high school playoffs, dominated our way to the finals. We played in the Philadelphia Eagles Stadium, which, a little side note, I always thought that was cool for the finals. You get to play in a big stadium in your state. This game ended up turning into an instant classic, though, in the 4th quarter. Their pass rush ate me alive most of the game, and we had the lead barely somehow at the end, but that was taken away when they evened it up at 14. After this, I actually found a second to throw the ball, but got stripped and lost the fumble. They marched down to the 1 yard line, but somehow I guess they turned it over in the end zone and we got the ball back off a touchback. Fast forward to the last minute drive to potentially win it. I was then sacked 3 straight times, losing a fumble again on the last one, setting them up near the red zone where they eventually kicked the ugliest game-winning field goal and stole the state title right from under me. But to the moat itself though, that brings me back to that big negative I was saying. Despite my struggles and actually losing in high school, I still got offered from Ohio State, and yes, it was a backup position. But still, it's as shockingly bad as I ended up playing, and I didn't win the state title. I shouldn't even sniff Ohio State. I don't, second string or not. But on a positive note, I do enjoy that you only get to choose between the schools that were interested in you the whole season while you go through high school. And hey, at least the game actually has high school, unlike the new college game coming out this week that had a decade to do whatever it wanted and decided to can high school instead of improving it and making it mean something. But that's a different video for a different day. In the end, I decided to take a fair offer from Cincinnati as the second stringer there. From here, you begin your college football journey, and instead of earning recruiting points, you'll be working on your legend score instead. You'll have plenty of tasks in there, including things like winning the Heisman or the national title, throw 300 yards in a game, or 3 touchdowns, or career things like achieve 10,000 yards as a quarterback. They all add up to building your legacy, and it gives you objectives to do. And also don't forget that you could transfer over to Madden at the time, another thing that the new college game very disappointingly took out. So I'm going to have a little bit of rage in me for that video. After the legacy screen, you find your way over to the coach trust screen, which has a little more into it than you would think. Once you get the starting job, it doesn't just end there. You get to move up to like team captain, team leader, household name, and a few more. They all unlock specific things to use in games like calling audibles or having more plays to select from, which is a cool feature. You see how older football games just had depth and they actually allow you to start from the bottom and work your way to more and more as you go. From there, of course, you earn points to use towards your attributes based on your play. Standard sports game stuff, but it works, no complaints. I love how they give you a lot of menus like Dynasty mode that you can actually go through, like the ESPN tab showing the stories and the conference outlook and all that stuff. Sometimes in sports career modes, they kind of ignore all that stuff and they just focus on the player and it takes you out of it. But yeah, from there, it's pretty much just play your career and enjoy the ride. You go to practice every week to earn more if you want, or you can you go to practice to become the starter, which for me, it was a bad experience this time. Practice is pretty solid, but after that, it was the second week and I was already competing for the starting job, and competing for the starting job was very, very easy. I didn't even score a touchdown. I threw 3 interceptions, and I still destroyed this dude and took his job week 2 before we even played a game. I don't know if your team death matters for that stuff. Like, it's harder if like you have a better quarterback in front of you. Like, mine was only 80 overall, and I believe I was like 79, 80 overall, so maybe that's why it was easy. But for me, it really didn't do it. But that's it for Road to the Glory. You play your games, and you let your career play out, and you build your legacy. As you can see, NCAA 14 mostly still holds up to this day, which is incredible for a sports game specifically. This is a genre that usually gets old after a year or two of playing the same title, but NCAA 14 stands the test of time, even though when you compare it to its slightly older brother, 13, it falls a little bit behind for me. 14 just has the better gameplay. It's a lot smoother and fun compared to 13, but ultimately everything else in 13 for me just does it better. They're both incredible games, so really at the end of the day, who really cares? They're both whatever you want them to be for a college game. I know it's a sad day to kiss these two games goodbye, but it's also a very happy day at the same time because I cannot wait to get my hands on college football 25 later this week. This is seriously the most hyped I've been for a sports game in over a decade. Like, I've been waiting like a kid for Christmas for this for over a few months now. I mean, if we're talking years, I guess, at this point, but like the excitement has been there for a few months to where like every night I'm like counting it down how many days are left. So you bet your ass there's going to be a massive deep dive review video for that game coming out soon, and not an EA type of deep dive where they release a 3-minute video. I've waited a long time for this college game, so expect a very long, in-depth video showing you my opinion on every little thing that I could get my hands on. And other than that, though, make sure you like this video if you enjoyed. As always, go voice your opinions in the comments as well. I love talking to you guys about your opinions. And be sure to hit that subscribe button so you could be here for that college football 25 review video that I just mentioned, or many things after that as well. That is it for me in this one. Hope you have a great rest of your day. See ya.